This program is brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. Perceptions of the insurance industry could do with some help. Many people do not fully trust their insurer to come through for them at those times when it really matters the most. And fewer still aspire to professional careers within the industry, as there is a lack of knowledge and prestige associated with them. There may be a number of reasons for this. Poor uptake of products indicate that Botswana may not know enough about insurance in general. Many currently working within the industry are not adequately trained to provide quality service. Several consumers find themselves having signed up for policies they barely understand, what with the fair amount of jargon used within the sector. Executive Director at Kgare Insurance Brokers, formerly First Sun Alliance, Kgatlwane, says there are poor practices currently that are fueling poor perceptions. She says brokers are not meant to be product pushers out for a quick buck who are never seen again by their clients. What should we be rightly getting from our brokers? What is best practice in terms of customer-broker relationships?
In the insurance industry, the level of penetration of careered people for insurance is still low. However, the market is developing. We are now seeing institutions in this country having degrees in insurance, degrees in risk management, which will be a major contributor. What the insurance industry needs to do is to raise a bar in terms of qualifications or demands of people who are going to join the industry. In that way, inevitably, those that are interested in insurance as a career will see an opportunity arising. We believe that the market is growing. We believe that as more and more people get to understand about insurance, they'll get to understand that it is a career to be reckoned with.
Is this low level of entry by careered professionals, as you call them, part of the reason why we see the negative perception regarding the industry continue to grow? I feel, does this contribute to the low levels of education, the low levels of uptake, and just the quality of service between agent and broker?
What we should note is that an average Botswana is exposed to insurance largely through an agent and a broker. What the insurance companies are continuously trying to do is to train and educate them on the products and services. What the industry needs to differentiate more for the agents and the brokers is to make sure that the agent and brokers understand that they are not product pushers for a quick buck and never to be seen again by clients. They are people who are providing a solution and a need for clients to ensure that whatever service they're providing is sustainable. So we need to differentiate between quick buck product pushers to positioning them as solution providers. In that way, the agents will see themselves. I'm generalizing because there are some good agents who are doing a very great job, responsible, but there are some agents who are tarnishing the images for those agents that are doing a good job by not providing a good service to the clients. So we are hoping that through the training and development and appeal for agents to provide the service that they're trained for, the industry will become more developed, more and more for the benefit of all.
Ideally, what should my relationship with my agent look like? If it's not about product pushing, what should we expect?
As an industry, we are selling trust, we are selling service, we are selling repeat business for ourselves and yourselves. So the relationship between you and an agent should be a relationship whereby you have access to an agent, not sometimes. On a need basis, on a regular basis, your agent must be accessible first to guide you as you go along in terms of whether you need to improve the covers that you have taken, or when you are challenged and you have a claim, your agent need to guide you in terms of the process that you should undertake. So an agent should be somebody that is easily accessible to you, that you can trace and know where they are, because after all, they are trusted by you for you to give them business. You are giving this person business because you trust them, because we are selling trust. And you trust that they will do what you desire of them to do. And they'll give you confidence that you are buying the right product.
You've mentioned that training is being provided, but what else can be done to improve the state of things as they are, which I think will help the reputation of the industry, as well as provide Botswana with better service, have Botswana that are more informed about the insurance industry and have their needs better met?
There are a number of interventions that have been developed. One, we must recognize that an agent represents a principal who is an insurance company or an underwriter. So if a client is unhappy with the way the agents treat them, they have two areas of recourse: to go to the principal and say, agent so and so mukete is not doing good in terms of the service that they are providing you. Alternatively, the regulator encourages Botswana to go to them, call them. They have a toll-free line that they can be easily accessible to if people have got complaints about the service that they're receiving from agent. Is the only way that it can help people become better when they are monitored, because sometimes people believe that they get away with murder because there is insufficient monitoring. So our level, if our level of complaints go higher because we are not receiving good service, the regulator will then be in a position to assist, because the regulator exists to monitor, ensure that the agents provide the service that they're trained to provide.
And by the regulator, we're referring to NBFIRA.
We are referring to NBFIRA.
Okay.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world, because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB. How
Welcome back to the show. In this portion of our program, a professional who is dedicated to keeping abreast of industry news, economic activity, and company performance clues us in on what he looks out for when studying a company's financials. Investment analyst Kgatlwane has previously pointed out that to gauge a company's performance, you have to look at more than just how much money it's making. For example, a small company generating 1 million pula is more impressive than a company 10 times its size doing the same thing. Tonight, he educates us on the concept of return on equity, one that will help us truly understand how a company is doing when looking at its financials.
It just shows what you used your cash on, and then the net inflow and outflow. So what was your net cash inflow or net cash outflow for the year? So the first thing you look at is cash flow from operations. So this is important, because if this figure is negative, it means that you are generating less cash from actually operating as a business, which is very concerning as an investor. So you want to just look at it and ensure that it's a positive figure. If not, probably look in the annual report for why this figure is negative. So assuming that's fine, you then look at cash flow from financing, from investment activities. So this shows what is the business investing in. So generally, a normal business, you invest in property, plant, and equipment. So the things that are like used to, if you're a furniture manufacturer, to make the actual furniture. So the machines and things like that. But also it can include things like maybe if you're investing in literally another investment, it shows that. So this figure is generally negative because obviously you're paying for an investment. So it's just to understand, are you comfortable with this figure? Are you comfortable with what they're investing in? So that lets you know sort of what are the things that are going to drive future revenues. And the last one is cash flow from financing activities. So I spoke about who's funding the business. So it's shareholders and generally debt providers, right? So here you'll find, dividends that are paid to shareholders. You'll find interest that's paid to debt holders. You also find actual payments that are paid to them for their principal. You might find if the company needed more money from shareholders, you'll find the increase in money from shareholders. So this is just to understand, where is the money coming from? It shows. So you might find that, look, they're investing a lot and they're funding it with debt, or they're investing a lot and they're funding it with equity. So that's how you look at it. So you look at the cash flow from financing activities and you kind of look at, so what is it financing? It should be financing your cash flow from investment activities. If it's now financing your cash flow from operating activities, that is very bad, because that means that the business generally cannot sustain itself on a cash basis. And then obviously once you aggregate all of these, you get your net increase or decrease in cash flow. So obviously from what I've explained, there's not a good or a bad answer. I mean, negative could be you're investing for the future. Positive could mean that actually you're not looking at the future, you just want to give out dividends, which is also okay, but it means there's a different thought process management is looking at. So generally, you want it to be positive, just generally, rule of thumb. But if it's negative, just do a bit of detailed work and understand why is it negative and are you comfortable with that.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world. Because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB. How...
Next on First Issues this evening is the chairman of the Botswana Millers Association, Nkosi Mwaba, who also happens to be group executive for the Bolux Group, the largest milling company in Botswana. He says the next millionaires this country will produce will be farmers. He made a strong justification for his statement at a recent First National Bank of Botswana SME workshop. Listen closely as he lays out his case.
So the question is, why are we not producing more than 8% of our own local requirement? And what does that say about our food security? Now, there's quite a number of stakeholders in the process, and I want you to look at this from the perspective of the farmer. Now, if you have about 460 million that is actually being imported. So for anyone who is aspiring to be a white maize farmer, you have a market which is ready of 460 million pula every year. We have committed as millers, as an association, that we will buy every ton of white maize that is produced in this country. We are willing to put that commitment down on paper. So in other words, you're going into a business, if you're going to be a commercial farmer, you're going into a business that has a guaranteed market. I don't know many businesses where you will start a business and produce a good and have that good sold before you even start producing it. So in terms of opportunity, I hope you are with me when I say it is huge. But then what is the problem? And why are we not then taking this opportunity seriously and taking it forward? So I think we need to ask ourselves that question. Now, what then is the problem? Is it because it is a difficult business to go into? There's a lot of sacrifices. For the most part, you have a farm and your farm is in a remote area somewhere in the middle of Botswana and you are away from the CBD and you can't drive your Mercedes-Benz there. You don't have a corner office. Maybe it's a dirty game. Maybe for the youth it's more difficult because we're not really linked to or ready for that kind of business. But I think it's something that we really need to introspect on and see why we are not taking advantage of a ready market, and perhaps that's a conversation we need to start having. So in terms of stakeholders, the farmer obviously I put here first because without the farmer there's no product. Without product we cannot make staple food. The millers are also at the end of the line there in terms of the value chain, so they're also quite critical. And I'm saying this because without the millers, then the farmers don't have anything to, anybody to sell to, so your market then disappears. Financial institutions, your FNBs, I know you guys have agro-business divisions. And we had an interesting conversation around that to say, when we were asking ourselves why farmers or young farmers are not willing to really go that extra mile to make the necessary sacrifices to become proper commercial farmers. And I think for the most part, and I had this conversation with somebody at CEDA, is that when you come with your business plan and you put in a DSTV and a screen, some booster for internet connectivity because you're in such a remote area that you can't even get B-Mobile. And a young farmer who wants to sacrifice his nice Gaborone life and has 1,000 hectares somewhere in the middle of nowhere comes and says, I want to go and do this business. I'm serious about it, but I need a TV. I need to watch the news. I need to be on WhatsApp and talk to my girlfriend who's based in Francistown and she's 500 kilometers away from me. And the bank will say, no, those are nice to haves. You can't have those because that's not what business is about. You need to sacrifice. So the definition of sacrifice for many of us is that one must suffer in order for them to succeed. And that's a story for entrepreneurs. These startup entrepreneurs who've already become millionaires will tell you how they were sleeping in their cars, etc. It's not necessarily how it must happen. So perhaps it's a mindset thing, and we must start thinking that for you to be a farmer does not mean you need to suffer to become a successful one. You must live your life and be as connected to the world as possible so that you feel normal when you go to work in the morning. So maybe as financiers, you need to give people TVs and boosters, and I'm just saying. So it's just one example I'm giving you of why young people specifically will run away from this business because they're saying, I'm not going to go and stay in a one-room hut where I don't have electricity, I don't have hot water. They refuse to give me a Land Cruiser and I get stuck in the mud. You think it's a nice to have, and often it is. But think about, do you want somebody to become a successful millionaire or a formidable commercial farmer while they suffer? Do you think they'll actually live there? I don't think so. So maybe change the way you approach how you finance these difficult businesses and have some kind of carrot at the end of that stick. 460 million pula is a lot of money. Why are people afraid to tap into that? Maybe we haven't done enough to educate people in terms of that market opportunity. But it is there, and we are guaranteeing it now, and we are the market, and nobody else can tell you any different. So I'll skip government, because government has a lot to play in this, in terms of if you look at land, if you look at subsidies, etc. I visited the Pandamatenga farmers last year. One of the biggest issues is the cost of production in Botswana against or compared to the cost of production in countries like South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, and even Zimbabwe. And just for your information, I think Malawi did 3.6 million tons. I don't know whether it was 2017, but recently. Zimbabwe did about 2.2 million. By the way, Zimbabwe used to be the #3 producer of grain in the world. It's not about whether we have the right land or the right soil, or whether we can't deal with a drought year versus a year where there's too much rain versus a year where there's just enough rain. There's technologies today that can help you augment those risks. I've had conversations with people from a company called Seedco, and they have technology that has developed a seed that can survive anything. So you'll still get your finished product. You'll still get your harvest. But why are we still running away from the fact that we can, in fact, take control of this 10%, grow it to 20, to 30, to 50, and end up like Namibia is today with a self-sufficient model? And they started in 1985, by the way. They decided that whenever we have enough maize, we're closing the borders. And they don't care whether your truck is waiting in line at customs to cross from what you've imported. When they wake up in the morning and decide our local people have enough, we are closing those borders. Maybe that's the attitude we need to take. So this is just a thought-provoking process that I'm trying to unpack here.
Thank you for staying with us for yet another installment of our Own Your Day, Own Your Life productivity segment. So many of you watching this evening are on a consistent cycle of juggling work demands and responsibilities in the home, all while trying to make time for your own personal projects. When you pick up one ball, it appears you drop another. And even when you are off the clock, it is hard to switch your mind off life's competing demands. Professor Kieran Bhagat says rising rates of stress are indeed a sign of these high-pressure times.
Earlier sign perhaps is the inability to cope at work. If you find that work is getting the better of you, if you find that you're getting distressed or stressed, if your peers tell you that you're losing your temper, if, for example, the door shutting makes your heart race, basically it means that you're on edge. If you're on edge, your body is producing a lot of chemistry, it's producing a lot of adrenaline. So when the door shuts and your heart races, somebody shouts at you and you start to cry. The fact that you can't sleep because your mind is not switching off. You know, your mind is continually thinking about tomorrow's problems or what your boss expects of you, or the fact that you didn't perform in terms of your obligations, your performance indicators are not being met. These things keep you awake at night and give you insomnia. You wake up feeling tired. You can't focus at work because you're tired. You don't perform even further. So you get your nappy in a knot. So these are the early signs. You're finding that you're short-tempered. You're finding that you can't focus. You're finding that you can't sleep. You're finding that your peers and your friends are telling you that your personality is beginning to change. You're finding that you're resorting to quick fixes, alcohol, sweets and chocolates. You know, you never crave spinach or cabbage. You crave sweet things, things that give you comfort. You crave alcohol, you crave cigarettes because they give you a quick fix. If you find these are the things that you're getting relief from, these are the signs that you need to go and seek some counseling.
This program was brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?